factor in her decision.
Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me.
Joining us now, Ali Vitale, MS Now senior congressional reporter, and Vaughn Hilliard, MS Now senior White House reporter. Thank you guys for joining us after what was kind of a late night that surprised us all.
Yes.
Weird night. Before we get into it, we do have a very recent Truth Social from the president responding to Marjorie Taylor Greene. He did a phone interview with ABC News, but this is his first public response. Marjorie Trader Brown, because of plummeting poll numbers and not wanting to face a primary challenger with a strong Trump endorsement, has decided to call it quits. Her relationship with the worst Republican congressman in decades, Thomas Massie of Kentucky, also known as Rand Paul Jr. because he votes against the Republican Party and really good legislation, did not help her. For some reason, primarily that I refused to return her never-ending barrage of phone calls, Marjorie went bad. Nevertheless, I will always appreciate Marjorie and thank her for her service to our country. President DJ.
This is my Donnie good feeling.
It went away very quick. They don't extend to mine.
Anyway.
So I feel like this is going to be a moment, you know, like, where were you on the night that Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned? Vaughn.
My poor husband had run to the store to get a Duraflame and just had started making for the first time ever, I have a fireplace. We were making the first fire ever. And then Marjorie resigns. I know. And that was coming off of already the Zorn Mamdani high. And I was just like,
Ali, where were you?
I was at Wicked, and you know you're seeing Wicked in D.C. when everyone's walking out of the theater being like, I loved For Good, and also, oh my God, Marjorie. It was Marjorie. I don't know if I was changed, but I was changed for good.
Okay, but actually, Ali, you've been on the Hill all week. Were we expecting this? I mean, we knew their relationship had gone south and that there was a rift going on, but we were not expecting a resignation.
No, we weren't expecting a resignation. And I think the most stunning thing in the way that I'm trying to metabolize this going forward is we heard Marjorie Taylor Greene this week. I was at the press conference with the Epstein survivors, and she was asked about the impact of that legislation. She says the fact that this was a fight after people waited for hours at rallies to see him, they trudged through snow, they got out the vote for him, they stood by and supported him, they fought for him, and to see this be a fight, she said, it's tearing the party apart. And I had never heard her speak that way, even as they were having their initial rift, which, yes, was over the Epstein files, but was also over the Affordable Care Act and cost of living and the way that her kids' premiums were going up. And the way that she felt like if it's happening to them, it's definitely happening across the country. I had also had some conversations with folks who know her district, are in her district, know Georgia politics, and they were like, she's going to be fine. People love her here. And I think that people can hold space, to carry a Wicked metaphor, for the idea that they support their member of Congress, even if they are mad, happy, whatever, with the president or Congress writ large as an apparatus, right? They have a personal tether that I've seen on display, Democrat and Republican, right? So for Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think it was less of that. For me, I actually think it's more about the way that people were warning about the future of the MAGA coalition, the way that Thomas Massie and others were saying, your vote on Epstein is going to outlast Trump's tenure over the party. And for her, I think it's a question of, if MAGA is splintering, is she trying to own an early lane? And is it easier to do that from outside the official party apparatus, like an outsider to the outsiders almost?
Because at the end of the day, she is actually the truest sense of MAGA, right? When it comes to, compared to Trump, right? Like, compare the way he's focused on foreign policy, et cetera. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, Vaughn, because Greene happened yesterday, and it's taken up a lot of energy, a lot of hours, giving us a lot of energy as well. But there's a lot happened this week for Trump and this month for Trump, right? You have the elections that didn't go well for him. You have the Epstein vote, which whether he says it or not, he got twisted into saying that he would agree with it. And we're looking at poll after poll that show that Americans don't like where the country is going. There's even polls that show that they're picking Democrats, double digits over Republicans in these kind of, and I don't try not to put a lot of stock in the generic ballot, but in the generic ballot. How's the White House kind of taking in some of this stuff? Because sometimes it seems to me that they aren't metabolizing, to use your word, the bad things that are happening to them.
They're taking the direction of the President of the United States himself.
Yeah.
And that is how this White House operates, and that's different than even the first term. And that is where Marjorie Taylor Greene's frustration, I don't think that we could ignore. It's just a Marjorie Taylor Greene thing.
Right.
Because she is representative of Republican members of Congress that have come into power under Donald Trump. Folks, we've known about Marjorie Taylor Greene for a long time. She didn't win her first election until 2020, right? She came into power there around January 6th attack.
First day of school.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that is where...
Although I was at the Rome, Georgia October rally for Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's where I got my first case of COVID. It was in the middle of the pandemic, and there were 15,000 people out who were out there for her. I mean, her power predates political office, which I think maybe foreshadows where we are now.
And sort of the purity and the responsiveness of which she demands that our politics is to respond, like for healthcare subsidies, right? That if you're not listening to the folks in her congressional district in Georgia, then maybe that's why you don't understand why your polling numbers are going down, if you don't understand the hardship that they are enduring here. And that is where I think her frustration in the specific use of, quote, cult-like in her video last night. I couldn't ignore that, and I don't think we should ignore that, because those words are not spoken easily. As somebody who was outside of the courthouse, right, out there to defend him full vocally, she was out there in every single way defending the January 6th defendants who were jailed, right?
That's right.
So I think that in so many ways, she is this moment demanding a responsiveness that the rest of her party is not.
So, Allie, let's nerd out here. As we were doing in our, Allie and I share an office. So we were nerding out just before the show.
Yours is very refined.
So let's nerd out here and talk about the impact on Congress with Marjorie Taylor Greene, her resignation effective January 5th. You have this special election in Tennessee on December 2nd. Talk about the math, because it looks like come the next Congress, Speaker Johnson could have a Republican majority of what, 1, maybe 0.
Yeah. Well, if we extend out the calendar, right, and you and I were doing probably my least favorite kind of math, because math, period, but also like House math is hard, right? Because you're always looking for what's the middle plus 1, and if you have absences, whatever. But let's assume that we live in a landscape where a Democratic landslide continues, and I'm not convinced that it will, but let's say that Tennessee 7th District actually ends up being a flip. It's a Trump plus 22. I think it's a tough slog, but they do see races tightening in private polling. Let's say they win that. That brings the margins 1 closer. That still has Marjorie Taylor Greene in the count, though, and Mikey Sherrill resigns effective
the governor-elect of New Jersey.
Exactly, yes. And so you have some shifting margins. I think in January, the margin for the speaker is still likely to be 2, even though I think and if Tennessee flips, then it's 1. But I think, or rather, it's 1. Again, the math. But if you go forward to April, then you have likely a Democrat reclaiming the Mikey Sherrill seat, but if there's some shifting sands, yeah, you're right. There could be a world where the margin is 0. If there's not, there's still a margin where it's 2. But either way, it's very, very tight.
Right, and if the margin is 0, let's keep in mind that Congressman Massey, who the president slammed in that
as
post,
Rand Paul Jr.
Rand Paul Jr. Yes, that. What's his head? Speaker Johnson. I'm so sorry. Speaker Johnson is going to have a tough time getting a bunch of votes done.
Get any vote done.
Well, also, especially the closer we get to midterm elections, where vulnerable Republicans are trying to claim their independence and distance themselves. I mean,
but there's a key vote coming up even before the midterm elections, and that is the continuing resolution that expires on January 30th.
So, well, 2 key votes. ACA subsidies and continuing resolution.
Well, that's assuming they get it done
in the House.
You don't think it?
And that's supposed to be done. That should be done in December.
They keep saying mid-December. Senator Shaheen, who's brokering that deal in the Senate, has said to me they're aiming for a mid-December date, bill of Democrats choosing, date of Democrats choosing, but it would still need to cobble together the 60 votes, and I'm just not sure they're there. And even still, we've asked Speaker Johnson, will you commit to holding a vote on this? And the answer so far is no.
So, you know, if you go to a certain Substack mine, I wrote all about this, all about the calendar issues and how, you know, those premiums are going to go up, and we're going to have, my prediction, another government shutdown because of, well, those folks don't work.